this day. And with this faith, I will go out and carve a tunnel of hope through a mountain of despair. That's the way I think of the symbol of the Stargate or the wormhole, is the tunnel of hope that we carve through the mountain of despair. The symbol of the ring, the Stargate is the symbol for the impossible. If we can achieve Stargate metaphysics or wormhole consciousness, we're going to be good to go, ready to rock. And as I said earlier, Dr. Michio Kaku thinks we're 1,000,000 years away from that. But I think we're much closer to that. I think we're maybe right on it now. And when you look up in Norway and you see a wormhole, or what millions of people around the world would agree is a wormhole, you have to ask, are we carving tunnels of hope now through mountains of despair? Are we ready to jump up to the next level of our spiritual and other evolution? I think the answer is absolutely yes.
1947, you mentioned as well, very interesting year overall, considering how many things were going on, back then. But also one thing that comes to mind here is, for instance, you went to CERN, you said, and you were on the outside there. For instance, they have a statue of Shiva, the feared one, or in some cases known as the Destroyer as well. That's another one of these. Wait a minute, what is the message here? Is it, or are they talking about the destroyer of worlds? And maybe my take on it is wrong, but I also thought that Shiva was considered to be not only the destroyer, but also the creator, one who sets everything, destroys everything, and then put it back into place again. Maybe you can talk about that, William.
Yeah, I went to CERN. I'm not a physicist. I don't know much about the high energy physics works that they're doing there. I can follow along and understand conceptually what they're doing. I went there because I wanted to see, show me your artwork. When I go to cities, when I go anywhere, show me your artwork. I want to see your artwork.
Yeah.
So here I go to CERN, just wanting to see what's on your mind there, because I knew they weren't allowing religious artwork there. CERN, of course, was formed immediately after World War II. It was an answer to the Nazis and an answer to American aggression, too. They knew that they watched the parade of high-energy physics types leaving Germany and going to Russia and going to the United States, and they could see that if these guys are going to the United States, they're going to be building weapons. And it's not going to be long before they have even more horrific weapons than the atomic bomb. So the high-energy physics types get together at CERN on the border there of Geneva and France and say, let's develop high-energy physics applications for purely peaceful purposes. And so we're going to keep the religious stuff out of it. We're going to keep all that other stuff out of it. Well, when you go there, it turns out there is a piece of religious art there. You mentioned it. It's the statue of Shiva, which was a gift from the people of India. And when I think of Shiva, yeah, I agree. Shiva is a very terrifying figure. But what we see is Shiva, who's also called the Lord of the Dance, dancing inside of a ring, a Stargate symbol, a portal, and stamping out ignorance. And I thought there was a profound message there, that the idea is that if we can achieve this Stargate consciousness, this is how we can stamp out ignorance. And so that was a very important piece of art there. Another important piece for me was, and again, as you notice, I like to look at people's logos.
Yes.
What's your logo? What's your symbol? And it turns out the folks at CERN put out a newsletter. It's called Interactions. And what the Interactions logo is it shows a couple of these particles colliding with one another, and you see sort of the spray of light coming from the particle. Well, it was kind of interesting. I took that spray of the God particle, the stylized logo, and superimposed it over another one of my transfiguration images that shows Jesus emerging through the gate. And what do you know? It fit wonderfully over that. I thought, well, that's kind of fascinating. And then as I'm walking around, I see this image of another piece of art at CERN, which is one of the only few really pieces of art that you see there, was the logo for CERN is a dove, symbol of peace, spewing the symbol of the God particle, this spray sort of a particle. And when I looked at that, I said, now that's really interesting, because isn't the dove also the symbol for the Christian Holy Spirit?
Yep.
And so what they're showing us in another level of interpretation is that, okay, they're talking about the God particle, which we could easily call that the Christ particle, and their logo is a match for this idea that what they're ultimately talking about here is the revelation of these spiritual mysteries in the guise of science that potentially can stamp out ignorance and enable us to get up to the next level, to Stargate metaphysics.
I think that's a good note, William, to begin to round things up for this time. It's been so interesting talking with you about basically hidden symbols here in the second hour, and also some of your travels that you've been doing. And we will obviously keep a very keen eye on not only the developments here in close to us here in Copenhagen, but also, of course, in terms of the Norway spiral, if something more like this comes up. And I'll bet you will be doing the same on your blog and on your website. Keep tracking this and looking for the further confirmation, I guess, in terms of these symbols and basically potentially events also upcoming here, William.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your work and your dedication to actually going to Copenhagen and getting a look-see for yourself. There's nothing that can replace that, and so thank you so much for being there for us.
Excellent, thank you, William. And again, for us, please mention your website and also, of course, the primary book that we've been talking about here, Freedom's Gate, and then you have a DVD out there as well called The American Right. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I do. I have The American Right, and I also have a new DVD called Freedom's Gate, Decoding the Dome of Ascension in the U.S. Capitol, and as well as Morph, The Secret of Light Body Activation, which discusses many of the things that we've talked about today.
Okay, excellent. Again, the website, williamhenry.net. Head on over there, check it out. Thank you so much, William, for coming on.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
That's our program with William Henry.